I think I'm done.
21A agreement and the effect on the taxes that will be probably more direct towards the BRA.
My question again is the implications, from what I understand, of the 121A agreement, the effect on the taxes produced by that site that are now, at market rate or whatever they are, commercial rate. I don't know if Charlesview right now is a 121A. It is?
Yes.
All right. Well, that eventually, if that's used for institutional use by Harvard, that will no longer be taxed at a regular rate because it will be an institution, part of Harvard's college, and therefore not taxed. And the 121A agreement, as I understand it, is a reduced tax in exchange for production of affordable units. So it sounds like the city, in effect, or the state, is subsidizing this project by creating this 121A agreement. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I just want to get some clarity on that as far as the financing and who's ultimately responsible, who's taking the burden here on the tax front.
Sure, I'd be glad to. Charlesview is currently a 121A. That 121A, the plan is to transfer to the new project, so that's going to be a wash. Whatever was there now is going to be in the new one. As far as when they do the land swap and it becomes Harvard's property, then that'll be subject to the deal that Harvard has with the city. With the pilot, they have a pilot agreement, which I'm not familiar with, but my understanding is that Harvard pays a fair amount of money. It won't be taxed as a taxable piece of land, but I think Harvard pays an awful lot of money to the city. So the 121A will be a wash, though.
For long-term affordability, that Section 8 contract that is attached to the project would cover the 200 affordable units on the rental side. It affects them in terms of continuing affordability, requiring that they be rented in a certain manner to certain people at certain income levels and at certain rents.
That's right. The existing 200-unit Section 8 contract, which is attached to the property, will be moved. And so it will assist the 200 units that are there that will be recreated in the same unit configuration.
And again, what will guarantee affordability both on the new rental units and the continuing affordability on the affordable homeowner units? In other words, what will there be deed restrictions in perpetuity, or will it be an affordable housing covenant of some type?
There'll be affordable housing covenants. There will be deed restrictions. There'll be land use restrictions. One of the 121A is one in particular. But there will be affordability covenants that go along with the tax credit financing, as well as the long-term affordability that is continued with the extension of the Section 8 contract.
Now, my understanding, just on a sideline here, is that tax credit financing right now is it's in limbo, not limbo, but it's not looking that great because of the situation in the economy. Basically, it's a tax write-off for companies' profits, and if people are losing money, or companies are losing money, or individuals are losing money, they're not looking for those tax write-offs. If I've got this right, as far as tax credits, is that correct? So, how much of your project is banking on tax credits to survive or to go forward?
As you overlay the credit, there is an allocation and an equity that is raised to that. And at this point in the process, our financial analysis is fairly conservative to try to account for reductions that have happened in the market over the last 6 months. The expectation is that market will begin to right-size itself within the next 12 to 18 months, which is probably another 12 to 18 months before we will be needing to place the debt with the approval and permitting process that we've laid out right now.
Apply to the home ownership side on Telford Street, which will be a market, which will be ownership and market and pay taxes and all that sort of thing. So the 121A only applies to the Brighton Mill side of things.
I live in Alston and have for many years, and I'm also a member of the Impact Advisory Group. So one question is, I think just answered it, and that is which property will the 121A agreement apply to? And is it all of Brighton Mills or just the piece of this housing? So that's one. I have a couple of pieces, so you may want to organize your answer around the entire set of questions. The other is just more clarification on how the 121A actually works and what sort of zoning relief and relief from other regulatory requirements it actually provides to you, and what happens if you don't get that? How would you accomplish what you need to for the Charlesview tenants without that? I am interested in the tax implications, and I'm also interested in knowing if there is any time constraint on this. Is this considered 121A property in perpetuity, or is there any time limit on that? And then also specifically what standards are used to determine that an area is blighted, because I understand that that's a key piece to designating a piece of land as 121A. And some of the definitions in the statute and chapter talk about conditions that I don't really see on the current site, but there may be more to it than that.
Let me try to answer, and if I forget, please remind me what I didn't get to. But to start with the last one, because I remember that at least, the statutory standard is blighted in the rest. It's a funny statutory. The first 121A project in Boston, or the first one that was challenged in the courts, was actually 28 State Street, downtown. And I don't know what building was on that site before it was 28 State Street, but it was a functioning office building. And the SJC, the Supreme Judicial Court in Massachusetts, found that a fully functioning office building at the corner of State Street and Congress Street in Boston was a blighted property for the purposes of Chapter 121A. So it's a term of art, really, a legal term of art, statutory term of art that's been construed extraordinarily broadly by the courts in this state. So for those purposes, this property would certainly comply for statutory reasons as a blighted property. So that's the start of what the statutory threshold is. I'm not concerned at all, but the BRA has to make the finding that it's blighted as a legal matter, as a statutory matter. Again, if 28 State Street was blighted, then I'm not terribly concerned, but it just as a statutory matter, it will qualify.